Intro ready. Okay, so we ready to go? All right, guys, we are going to get started with Derral Eves right now. In 5, 4, 3. How does the YouTube algorithm really work? Well, if you're a creator on YouTube, then you're in the right place because we've got Derral Eves coming on the show today to discuss the newest super secrets to the YouTube algorithm that will help you grow your channel fast. It's coming up right now, so stay tuned. It's Owen Video.
Owen Video!
Hey, welcome back to the channel. I'm Owen Video, helping you to build your authority on YouTube. And if it's your first time here, you can give me 5. That's right. Type 5 into the comment section now if it's your first time here and say hello. He's a YouTube consultant for the top YouTubers in the country. He has 22 gold play buttons. He is also the mind behind multi-million-dollar video ad commercials. He's behind the highest crowd-funded project in film and television called The Chosen. And in his spare time, he educates YouTubers on the YouTube algorithm. Our guest today is Derral Eves. Derral, good to have you on the show.
Good to be here.
Now, I want to jump right in with you about something very, very serious. What did you think of the last Star Wars movie?
It was better than the Star Wars movie before that. And it was a heck of a lot better than Solo.
Yeah. You know, it's funny. Solo's one of those late night movies that I can watch and fall asleep to. Normally, I can't fall asleep to a movie because I have to.
After 5 seconds.
In the theater. Well, I know that you're a Star Wars fan, and I know that you've got so much great information on knowledge and on YouTube and the YouTube algorithm. And if you're watching us live on YouTube, ask your questions to Derral in the comment section right now. So, Derral, let's jump in and talk YouTube.
Yeah, for sure.
What are the top, biggest, highest level areas of YouTube that will trigger the algorithm for our channels?
So this is a great question. And I think a lot of people, when they're looking at, optimizing content, they're thinking search engine optimization.
Yeah.
And that's one of the biggest mistakes. Back in 2012, the YouTube actually did an experiment where they brought in an AI to try to predict what people wanted to watch.
Right.
They adopted that in 2013. And, basically there's an AI behind it is trying to predict what viewers want to watch and keep them on the platform longer. And so ultimately, there's a lot of people that are trying to optimize for a search engine. And the best way you can do that is actually to optimize for humans.
Yeah.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah. Yeah. I found when I learned that from you, that really changed the way I thought about the titles that I was creating, because I'm constantly worried about this robot who's going to read my titles and then match me up with people. But you have a slightly different technique, and that's optimizing for humans. What does that mean?
Right. So the thing to truly understand is the algorithm looks for patterns, and it looks for patterns in behavior. And that behavior is like, what does groups of audience want to see? Now, the whole thing about it sees other patterns that we don't necessarily see, and it structures in a way that it can say, oh, here's some commonalities between this group of individuals. And also here's some commonalities with this group of individuals. And so they are more apt to watch this specific type of content. And as you know, there's like a lot of things that are actually happening. The more that you can get very niche specific type of content with a general twist, it goes out to more and more people, because you know what? YouTube's going to be able to identify who's engaging with it, who shares with it, who's commenting with it. Not like those are triggers to gamify. But it's more like, no, it's seeing these patterns, and it sees a pattern in a lot broader amount of people. And once that happens, it's really good at identifying the same patterns and then showcasing those videos to test out to see if they would actually click.
Okay, so that's really big right there. And if you understood what Derral is talking about, smash the like button right now. Derral, can you go a little bit deeper on niche-specific content with a general twist? What does that mean?
Yeah, so I mean, the biggest issue that a lot of content creators for make is I'm going to make whatever content that I want, and they do a variety channel.
Yeah.
And what happens is when someone is looking at a video, it's really important what they do next. And if it's like on a completely opposite topic, and there's a higher likelihood for that main viewer to skip that other video, then it's kind of hard to identify what that pattern would be for humans. And so the easier way to do that is like, I love Star Wars. So if you did something on Star Wars related, that would be great. But maybe it's a Star Wars parody channel where that's the whole thing. It's the whole channel itself. So yeah, you're in a topic, which is Star Wars. When you're niching down, it would be more about the parodies that actually happen, because I know what to expect,
Right.
but I'm pleasantly delighted because there's a lot of unpredictability in the content. And that's where the creativity comes out.
Yeah, and I think that's probably something that we need to dig into a little bit more. And so that's what we want to dive into with you today. Super pumped that all of you could be here watching us live. Simple Lee Beth, you, Niece Delicious, Paul Democritu, Kathy Fit, Pam Duthie. So glad you guys could be here with us today. We've really got 4 big areas that we want to cover here with Derral, and that's getting clicked, getting watched, increasing watch time, and creating binge-worthy content. So let's start with number 1. Derral, how do we get people to even click on our video in the first place?
So the big thing is, and this is where a lot of creators make mistakes, and I don't know if you all fall into this category, but it's like you create content and you think the content is the video. And I can honestly say that from the 50 billion video views that we've been able to generate here on the platform, 1 billion of them were just dumb luck. The other 49 billion of them was really going through this process of thinking, if we can't actually get people to click on the videos, there's no way we're going to get them to watch the videos. And so what is the title? What is the thumbnail? Like we're not even recording the videos. And so a big mistake that creators make is they go and create the content, and then they're like, okay, 2 minutes before it goes up, well, what's the title? What's the thumbnail? Oh, I got to design something, or I'll let YouTube auto select a thumbnail.
Yeah.
And so those are very damaging things that you can do, because ultimately that is the first trigger to go. So I like to look at it from a billboard perspective. What's going to grab your eye when you're just driving down, the freeway? You've got a split second before that happens. What's going to grab the eye? What's that message going to be? Because you only have milliseconds to do that.
Yeah.
And one thing that I think every creator needs to do, and I can tell you, the bigger creators that I work with and the bigger brands that I work with, a lot of energy, time, and money is put into that stage of it, and less in production, because it's that important.
Yeah. So when it comes to let's start with the title, okay, perhaps. What are some best practices? What's working now? What's the newest thing that's going to get the algorithm to pay attention to our titles? So how do we structure those titles to get more attention?
Yeah, there's a lot of misinformation out there, and it's just because people are going off of older data.
Mm-hmm.
And so my first statement was, you got to optimize for humans. How do you optimize for humans? Well, what would actually get you to click? Is it a really keyword stuff thing that's trying to, get a search engine to show it up for 10 different keywords?
Yeah.
Or is it something that's like causes you to take a step back and say, oh, I'm curious about that.
Yeah.
What is that? And then you're looking more at the thumbnail because of that curiosity factor, or vice versa.
Yeah. Yeah. Are you personally like a thumbnail first, title second person? Like, how do you, when you as a consumer, you search for something, do you go thumbnail, then read the title? Because that's what I do. Like the thumbnails sell me hard.
Yeah. I'm a visual person.
Yeah.
And so it's like, what grabs my attention? And then I do a quick glance at the title.
Yeah.
If I'm not engaged, I'm swiping on, or
Yeah.
I'm just going to the next thing. And that's basically human nature. They're not reading the titles and then going, but what happens is you have a really, really amazing graphic that pulls your eye in, and then you just do a quick reinforcement. And if it's not something that you're interested in, you just move along.
We've seen with our company and the clients that we help a huge increase in views. In fact, Karen Carr, who's watching right now, Karen, great to see you. We've seen her double her views on new uploads simply by structuring the title with a little more intrigue that causes someone to go, that's That's exactly what I didn't know I was looking for, right? Is something a little bit more fun like that. But you also mentioned thumbnails. Let's talk about what are some of the.
Can we stop right there? Can we
Yeah.
just stop for a second? Because a lot of people feel like, oh, test my thumbnail out and going for the thumbnail. I know we're going to go there, but I would say the title is more important than the thumbnail.
Okay.
And let me explain why. Is because that's like literally setting up the whole video, and everything's reinforced off of that. So the
Yeah.
title is the most important component to get someone to click, and then everything's reinforced. So if the title and the thumbnail are connected, that's great. If the video content's connected to the title and thumbnail, that's great. That shouldn't be overlooked. And I can tell you, just the success that one creator had, it was amazing. But the first thing that I do when I go in and work with my students or an audit, I have them look through all their titles and see patterns. And then more importantly, it's like, well, is it getting what the yield is? And so far too many people want to split test thumbnails when they should actually start split testing titles.
Yeah.
Because that's probably where the broken link is.
Yeah, that's really cool. Kathy Fit is saying, OMG this, and Derral Eves said it. The titles are the most important part of being clicked. So remember that, folks, that the titles are important. With the thumbnails, I feel like it's really easy to get into the weeds, right? It's really easy to kind of, do like, well, let me add a blue dot here, and then I'll do a split test with a yellow dot here, and you can lose a lot of time there. And it's fun. Thumbnails are a little bit more fun and creative. And so we spend countless hours here. Derral, can you help us cut through some of that and talk to us about best practices on a thumbnail in 2020?
Yeah, I mean, just to give you an actual case. So like I'm right here in North Carolina. I'm helping one of my clients, Mr. Beast, and we're going over strategy, and there's a lot of stuff that's going on. But what happened was there's a video that's about to come out, and we were shooting that video, and he had to stop the video shoot so they can, engage with his audience and do all the stuff that he does is when he releases a video. And he comes over to me and he goes, oh, this video is 10 out of 10. And I go, dude, it's a banger title, man. Like, let's look at it. And so we didn't have enough data to see, and I really am grateful for all YouTube and the data that they give us. And so we had to wait a little bit of time, which he was deflated on the video itself of not performing. And when the data came in, we're like, that's way below our baseline of what a click-through rate should be at that time.
Yeah.
We need some variations. And so luckily we have a system down that we could put a variation in. And guess what, Owen? It went from a 10 out of 10 to a 1 out of 10, and it will probably be a 50 million viewed video because the title didn't change. It was just making sure that the thumbnail was it could support that title because the title was so strong.
Okay, so I'd love to dig into that because I noticed on Mr. Beast's last upload,
that's the one I'm talking about.
Okay, so I saw that thumbnail change like 3 times, very shortly.
It did. Yeah, it did. It changed 3 specific times, and the last one is where it took off.
So I'd love for us to dig into that a little bit and talk about, what the thumbnail was and what did you do to it?
So I think it's more about understanding. It's not like understanding, like we took our best guess. And that's all you can do is take the best guess off the data that you have. We like to make data-driven decisions, right? Mm-hmm. So we take our best guess. The guess just doesn't come from one person. We like to go out to people that we trust, that understand our audience and understand, how they would click and see if they would actually want to click on that title and thumbnail.
Yeah.
And, we're very, very conscientious about getting the right type of feedback, not putting it in a Facebook group and saying, hey, tell me what it is. Because I think that's really damaging and it can mislead you. But it's like really people that understand, is this good, and can give you positive suggestions. So off of that, we made the best decision. Now we had a couple that we thought would work too. And that's where we were able to switch it out quickly, is because, let's try it this way, let's try it that way. And ultimately, I can tell you at the end of the day, it's like whatever can literally explain what your title's about without words, mm-hmm. Or it reinforces it without words, will win every single time. Yeah. And the more simple that it is to digest and to comprehend, the simplicity simplicity sells.
Yeah.
And simplicity gets the click. And so we try to overcomplicate everything. And yeah, there's like a pattern of things, and you can go back and look at the data. So like what I'm known for, and I know, Owen, you know this more than anyone else out there, is I'm known for really looking at patterns in data
Oh, yeah.
and correlating that to get the success that we need to, because like we have the tools. And so all we need to do is understand, and part of this is like looking at the data through the right lens, because a
Yeah.
lot of people just, oh, this is what it's saying and it's what it's telling me. And YouTube's given us a lot of great tools, but a lot of people don't even know how to read it. And
Right.
I literally only look at like 5 metrics at all.
Okay. What are those 5 metrics that you look at?
So, I mean, let's just do it from one, because I think we're going to go through each of the metrics.
Okay. Yeah,
so the first metric to look at is the click-through rate. And for me, I want everyone to understand this. It's like more about where the traffic's coming from than just the video at large. And so there's a lot of deception in the video performance funnel. That's that funnel that tells you how many impressions you have and the click-through rate. It's very deceptive, and it's not by nature that they're trying to be deceptive. They're just trying to give us the tools.
Yeah.
But people make some pretty rash decisions on changing up things when they're not making the best call, because they're looking at that data instead of saying, oh, no, let's like look at it where historically where our data is coming from. So I would say, understanding traffic and understanding those percentages is more important. So that's that first metric.
Yeah, that's pretty incredible. We've got a question here from Jason Webster, and we're going to answer all of your questions towards the end. If you're watching live, leave your question in the comments, and we'll come back to it. But it's particularly fitting that we answer Jason Webster's question, who says, would you say bright contrasting colors have been done to death as everyone's doing them on YouTube? I think what he's asking is, are bright colors a strategy for a thumbnail? Your response, Derral Eves.
So I don't like to put parameters on what a thumbnail or a thumbnail should be or can't be. I like data. Data doesn't lie. Data, it tells me the truth.
Yeah.
And before we actually had click-through rate, I knew that was a thing just because of my understanding of how things work and operate. It's at a different level. And so we've been doing this from day one. It's like, okay, let's split test everything. And just to give you a concept, so I worked really closely with the Harmon brothers. I was an executive producer on the Squatty Potty Pooping Unicorn ad, which did a lot of money. It was like $45 million in attributable sales in 12 months. There we go. You have it right there. And what's interesting from this, more than anything else, is the other executive producer and my really good friend is Jeffrey Harmon. And we've worked on several projects together. And we tested over 162 thumbnail variations. And we also tested about 65 solid title variations.
Wow.
And I just want record to know that the title was mine, and it was my first idea that I had. But seriously, there's a sense of synergy that happens, and but what we do is you got to be not arrogant enough to decide, hey, this is what my audience wants, and to get some data. And so we got that data. But do you know what was interesting from all the tests that we had? If we went with the first thing that we thought was good without testing, we would have probably lost 90% of the sale, because it's like, if we can't get them to click, they can't watch. If they can't watch, they can't finish the video. If they can't finish the video, they can't be motivated to buy. Then they're not going to pull the credit card out. I mean, it's a very complicated process.
Yes.
So we went through that. We didn't have to spend a lot of money, but we had to spend time to analyze the data. And like, nothing's changed since then. Like, we do the same thing every single time. It's like we go through it because it's that important for those conversions.
One of the biggest lessons I learned from you and the Harmon brothers at Vid Summit 1 was this process of testing different thumbnails and learning sort of the tactical side of YouTube.
But that was a long time ago, Owen.
Yeah. And
think about it. Vid Summit 1, there was like literally 65 people.
In a room.
But we were talking about some amazing stuff and you could see like the byproduct of that. But hey, there it is. Look at that.
We're ready. We came ready, Derral. We came ready for you.
You're all
You
in
know,
this.
Vid Summit 1 was a game changer for me because I had just met you like 2 weeks earlier on a webinar with our good buddies Bill and Lem. And I came all the way out to Vid Summit, and I'm in this room with all the top video marketers at the time, like 65 people, like Derral was saying, like less than 100 people. And Derral Eves is there, and he's wearing a Nintendo shirt. And I was so excited to be there. I walk up to Derral, and I said, Derral, can I get a selfie? We've got a selfie. And I said, hey, I'm Owen. I'm just really excited. And he goes, I know who you are. And here's what he said. Derral, do you remember what you said to me?
Yeah, I do exactly what I said to you.
Change my life, everybody. I want you to hear this. Come on in. Derral says to me, I know who you are. I love what you do. I hate the way you're doing it. And for a moment, I was crushed. But then he explained why, and it actually changed the game for me. Derral, do you want to tell our audience why you said that to me?
Yeah, and I appreciate that story because that started a pretty amazing friendship, and I'm grateful for it. But here's the thing: is authenticity sells. When you try to be something that you're not, people can see through it. So here comes Owen in a suit and trying to be the corporate guy. I'm like, dude, let your tattoos show. You know, let pull out the freaking bandana. You know, put the sunglasses on.
Yeah,
like own it. Like own it. Don't go be someone that you're not, because I can see it a mile away that that's not who you are.
Yeah.
And it took you a while. I mean, it wasn't an immediate change.
No, it wasn't.
Like it took you a while to have it sink in, but that's really, really important with any video content. So like if you want the algorithm to succeed, authenticity sells, because that's what connects us together as humans.
Yeah.
You know, and it can do it all over the world. And so there's so many people that don't need a corporate person to tell them what to do in business on YouTube or live streaming.
Yeah.
What they need is someone that they can relate with.
Yeah.
And like, dude, seriously, like the cool factor, you're the cool dad, you know, that a lot of people want to hang out with. You know, I'm just the roly-poly dad.
Would you?
Whatever that is.
Whatever. We have had some good times together. We've gone to Ireland together. We have been all around the world together at various different conferences. And this journey of becoming more authentic is a daily journey. I've learned so much from people like Christina Smallhorn, who's watching us right now on the live stream. I'm wearing a hat because I've learned it's okay to wear a hat when you feel like wearing a hat. I got this jacket for the same reason. So that advice that you gave me all that time ago not only began a great friendship, but also kind of got me on this journey of discovery and making the content that's right for me. And we've seen, I think at the time I had 6,000 subscribers. I'm here today with 54,000 subscribers. And I want to talk about that because as I get into my analytics, right, which is something that you've really taught me, is like make a video, look at the analytics before making your next video, right? Apply and repeat. One thing that I kept
learn and apply.
Yeah. So, what I kept seeing were these like either dips, like major dips, or sort of these curvatures downwards in the first 30 seconds of my video. So I was losing half my audience by the first 30 seconds. How do we get people? And by the way, if you've ever experienced that, let me hear from you in the comment area.
I think we've all experienced it. Like you tell me a person that hasn't experienced it, and I'll call them a liar.
Okay.
It's like at the end of the day, no, serious. Like there's not a person out there that hasn't experienced the hockey stick of death.
Yeah.
You know, and I want to go back to Vid Summit 1 because you were leading down a path. We were actually talking about a strategy of doing the right thumbnails. I mean, this is before we had click-through rate.
Right.
And we were breaking out structure of how things need to happen. And that's where the next thing was. And this was way back. It was in, was it 2013? I can't even remember. I can't even remember.
I think it was later than that. It feels more like 15, like 2015.
Right. Whenever it was. Like we didn't have the data, but we knew the next thing. And so the next thing is what you just alluded to. And we were talking about it then, which is, you've got to reinforce that first 5 seconds needs to reinforce that title and thumbnail. And you can't, like, there's so many people that says, well, it's in the video content, but it's at minute marker 6. No, you need to take a step back because what's happening is people have an expectation. It's like going into, you see a sign going down the highway. It says, hey, pizza, 2 miles. Like, I really would like pizza. You go to the restaurant, you open up the restaurant, it says pizzeria, Owen's Pizzeria. You go
Yeah.
inside, they don't have pizza there. They have vegan food,
Ugh.
and that's it. Like, you're like, wait a minute, this is the wrong place. I'm leaving, And so that's the same concept, for a video. You have just a moment. They're only going to crack the door if they don't smell, and if it doesn't look like a pizzeria, this is the wrong place. And
That's so
so
good.
that concept is true, and it is more true with video because the tolerance level, because you can only see and hear things, you can't have that smell, thank goodness, for a lot of cases, of those videos. But that's what you have that little moment. And yes, a good hook is great, and sometimes we reinforce it with voiceover or with a video or a clip of what's in the image, but it should basically reinforce that title and thumbnail. And yeah, we've been preaching that since Vid Summit 1.
Okay, so what are some of the things that we can do to increase that that watchability? Because I get thrown off between, like, do I do something visual and funny to grab attention? Do I just say what I'm gonna say? Or do I try to do something else? Is there a best practice or a strategy for writing a hook that's going to do really well?
Yeah, so writing a hook is key. And what I like to look at is, before I even pick up the camera, I know the title, I know 2 or 3 thumbnail variations, and I know how I'm going to pull them into the story. If I can't explain those things very simply, then I'm not going to do the video. I'm not going to spend the time creating the video. And that right there is the key. And then once we're able to get them through that, I know I have at least a minute to re-engage them along the way. So those are the points that I look at. And I like to look at a lot of different variations, but if I can't simply explain the video in a title, a thumbnail, and pull them in a video with whatever that may be, it's like, it needs to be of value. So you need to reinforce that title and thumbnail. You need to either inspire, you need to educate, or you need to entertain.
Yeah.
That's the only 3 things that you can do.
Yeah.
If there's anything else, please let me know, because I don't know what else would bring someone into that video.
Okay, so I know there's going to be a brand new YouTuber, by the way, who's going to add something and give us advice, and I want to hear from you in the comment section. How long should that hook be? Is that, we talk about 10 seconds, we talk about 30 seconds, we talk about the first minute. Like, it really depends on which YouTube expert you tune into. We'll tell you something different. But how long is the ideal hook in your world, Derral Eves?
So I do not like to set parameters on, just as a generality.
Okay.
I don't like to do that, because every channel's different. Every audience is different. How you hook someone in on a long form 2-hour video, and there's that expectation that they know they're going to be sitting down for 2 hours, is completely different than something that is, maybe 5-10 minutes, and so it's like, what I like to do is just understand the audience. And I'm gonna get on my soapbox here. Can I get on my soapbox, Dylan?
Yeah, can you guys hear him? Derral, you're a little foggy when you get that close to the camera, but yeah, I want to hear this. Soapbox time. That's perfect.
Soapbox.
Good. Yeah.
Okay. So one of my soapboxes is all about the audience. It's understanding who the viewer is, and when you ask for subscribers in these like sub for sub groups or anything like that, you're just confusing the AI. If you're promoting a video and they're like, hey, go watch my video, and they watch it for 2 seconds and then jump off, you're confusing the AI.
Yeah.
And so what we want to do is give it predictability. And that predictability is really getting the right audience to see it. And that all comes back down to is like knowing the audience, knowing that title, knowing that thumbnail, knowing that hook, and how it will engage an audience. And so how you're going to connect with an audience that's passionate about Star Wars versus Star Trek could be different. You know, it just really depends on the method. And so I always like to look at that. But just as a general rule of thumb, like you have, I would say at least 5 to 10 seconds to reinforce that title and thumbnail. And if you can do that within that amount of time, then you have a few more seconds to really get that hook. And, I know 10 seconds is great, but it's like, it really depends. Like on Instagram, it's like less than a second. On Facebook, it's like about a second.
Right.
On YouTube, it's about 10 seconds, but it really depends on the audience. And right now, I like to say, go study TikTok, because those are grabbing your attention very quickly. Those are great ideas for hooks that could help you in your YouTube content, because it's like, oh, you grabbed your attention, they stopped scrolling.
Yeah, that's a great, I think, equitable piece of advice there, guys, is to watch TikTok and look at how those creators are grabbing attention. I want to move on to the next topic, which is about engaging people through long periods of talking, because a lot of us are doing talking head educational pieces, and it gets boring, and we can lose people in that time. But before we move on to that next topic, Derral, any other advice for finding good hooks? Should we be watching? You said TikTok. Should we be watching comedians?
Well, this is another soapbox moment. I should actually do a video on soapbox moments with Derral, or something like that. But here's my next soapbox. It's like there's so many people that don't watch YouTube as a viewer.
Yeah.
And there's so many people that don't watch YouTube as a student. And I think any content creator needs to look at it as the viewer's perspective and flip the switch very quickly as a student. And I can tell you, like where I'm at right now, I can guarantee you that the creator of this said YouTube channel has watched at least 2 to 3 hours of videos before he even got here this morning.
Wow.
And it's like he's doing it from, hey, what's going on? It's not like from the lens of what do I like, but it's more like, hey, who's the viewer? How are they engaging them? What's the pattern here?
Yeah.
And I think that's something that everyone can do. And it's like something that we can do. Now, for me, there's so much to do and you don't have a lot of time. So I look for, prime opportunities to view as who's the intended audience for. Like I always try to figure out. And I always like, well, what are they doing and how could they do better? That's what I'm always analyzing.
Right.
So when I watch a YouTube video, it's more like a job than it is, entertaining, but I love my job. So
yeah. So it's okay. So are you watching YouTube again? Not baby, I'm working late.
YouTube.
I'm just working late. Want to say what's up to our new friends who have joined us. Karen Carr, Simple Lee Beth is here. Roger the Man Wakefield, Creator Fundamentals, and so many more are watching us live on YouTube, and we're glad that you're here. Derral, I have done a lot of talking head videos in my time where I'm teaching a concept. Kathy Fit is watching us right now, and she's teaching exercise. And it gets, like you kind of do these things where you like zoom out and zoom in and zoom out and zoom in, and you're trying to just keep the audience engaged while you're, talking about TPS reports. How do we keep long, boring segments, and not that they're boring, but long segments of talking, how do we keep the attention of the audience or even pull them back, right? They're starting to kind of zone out. And then how do we pull them back and get our watch time up? And is that even important?
So most people don't know this, but one of the most successful channels on YouTube is a long form channel.
Wow.
And it's a podcast with Joe Rogan. It's literally in the top 5.
Yeah, top 5.
I don't think people realize that, they give a lot of credibility to all these other people, but he has a long form format that just gets a ton of watch time, gets a ton of, views. And so at the end of the day, it's all, and like, it's the most, if you're just to take it without sound, it's one of the most boring video shoots that you can ever have in all mankind to watch.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But
it's like
what's
two angles.
It's like, what, can't you get a little creative with your videography? Well, no, it's not anything to do with that. It has everything to do with what they're talking about, the stories and the interactions. And so for me, I like to look at it through the lens of a viewer. Where are they going to drop off? Let's edit that out.
Yeah.
How can we re-engage them? Let's go ahead and connect with them that way.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's what I'm trying to think along the way. And the great thing about it, and this is where I teach all, my students and my clients, is like, you can analyze this, and you can analyze it and see patterns. And it's not just the way that you're going to analyze it with, you know, in the YouTube studio, which Creator Studio I love, and I think everyone that has complained on the older one, the new one's so much more powerful. I've been an advocate.
Yeah.
But the thing is it's like you can look at that data and make some great analysis. And then if you're really a hyper geek like me, and what I teach my students to be, then it's like you're looking at data within data within data within data. It's like almost like an Inception thing.
Yeah.
But it's amazing that you can see patterns in a new way. And that's where you can see some really amazing growth.
Yeah, it's true, guys. When I first met Derral, I was fine. But now I see everything like the Matrix. It's all just like green code. It's red code that falls down in front of my eyes. You know, the watch time graphs are really revealing too, because if you guys aren't watching your watch time graphs, then you need to do that, right? And you can see some of these pretty obvious dips. Like, for example, I noticed that when I look off camera, or when we cut, do we have the second camera view? When we cut to my second camera view, I tend to lose. You know, I get a little bit of a dip, and so it tells us. You can switch back now. We just lost 400 people, but it tells us, hey, you know, don't take your eye off the viewer, right? Or in our, like, don't switch to the second camera so much.
Well, can I give you the reason why?
Yeah, please.
Go back to that cut.
Yeah, go back to the second cut.
Okay, that doesn't look as good on a mobile phone. Then go to the next cut.
Okay, and then the main cut.
Yeah, so it's like part of it is the shooting style.
Yeah,
and,
okay.
You know, with the different types of shots, and you've been on a lot of productions. I mean, you have like a wealth of knowledge and information. You just got to be a little bit closer than just what the standards are in film and television, because it's a more intimate type of feel. And so it's more of a vlog type setting. And so I always like to look at my title and my thumbnail, how it's on mobile, and how the video content's on mobile, because ultimately that's where, like, you know, 75% of almost 80% of all internet traffic is video, online video.
Yeah.
And so that's where they're on the mobile side. And so that I always like to look at how do you engage them on a mobile. So the other ones, you feel more distant and you're disconnected when you're right here and we have big heads and we're split screen.
Yeah.
You're like, hey, we're right here. We're in the conversation.
We're with you. Yeah. And I think that's why stories on YouTube and on Instagram and Facebook, these other places, have done so well, because it puts you right in the mix of the viewers. So that's a good note for us. We've just learned a couple things. And, you know, I want to ask you about some different watch time techniques. And Melissa, if you could cue up the YouTube Authority picture. We're going to cut to that a little early. But I want to ask about pattern interrupts and disruption, and, you know, so I get a big smile from you. Talk to us about that, because I'm looking at like this long period of talking, and I'm trying to think, how can I add pattern? First of all, what is a pattern interrupt, and how do we use them to increase the watch time on our video?
So I'm going to just use the reference of this video that they're watching right now. Okay. So there's one thing that you did as a style of things, and it was with your hand movement. Why do you do that?
You know, I do that to, I do that to activate, first of all, create ritual with the audience, but also to kind of activate like what's going on here, you know, like. No,
you just did a pattern interrupt. You just grabbed their attention.
Yeah, cool.
That's a pattern interrupt. And
it worked.
One of the things, it could be as subtle as that. And if you think that these big creators are just doing it because that's what they do naturally, you are sadly mistaken. What you need to understand is every frame, and I'm not saying all of them are mad scientists, geniuses. Some of them are just naturally gifted, that God gave them those abilities. Right. But they are performers, and they know exactly how to do pattern interrupts. And so that's a pattern interrupt, you know, like the whole, you know, fist bump, you know, I mean, who's that? You know, we can start talking about these pattern interrupts very specifically. Another one is like the way that you're doing your editing. You can trim it way down, and YouTubers have been doing this. You're taking the ands and ums and you're really tightening up the content. That's another pattern interrupt that works really well. Yeah. So you can see Phil DeFranco, like he's just sitting in a set, but the way that they edit, it's a pattern interrupt. And the way that he brings in, B-roll or whatever he's emphasizing, graphics or whatever.
Yeah.
That's it. Also a pattern interrupt.
Yeah.
And then that's where, zoom in and zoom out the camera. That's where that conversation prior was. It's like, oh yeah, that's a pattern interrupt. But the most important thing is it's more about the viewing experience and the story of the viewing experience, because I don't care if you're giving information away. There's a story behind it.
Yeah.
And you got to take it from the viewer's perspective. So if they're wanting to come and learn something, then they're all at this is my thought process. They're all at different stages of learning. Who are the three different types of learners that are here? And what are the stages where they're at in their learning process? Wow. If they're finding this video this way. And before I even craft the video, it's like, how can I emphasize in the first, 30 seconds, these three learners so that they feel like they're going to get value out of it by finishing it. Like, I don't want to turn off the person that really wants to deep dive into something. I want them to crave more content, and then I can get them to this other video that we're going to be suggesting at the end of the video.
So good.
That'll be a 30 training that's going to be the deepest dive into it.
So good.
So looking at that lens, whether it's entertainment or whatever, it should help you make better content. And it's like, well, what happens when this person drops off?
Yeah.
And you've actually gone through part of some of my system that I teach.
Yeah.
But it's like, once you understand behavior and you can put demographic groups around that behavior, then you can make some very solid data-driven decisions of how to increase and improve your content. So like, my system's not about, hey, right out of the gate, you're going to make amazing content. No, my system is, I'm going to teach you how to analyze it in a way that if you're willing to put in the time, energy, and effort, you can make some amazing content. Yeah. If you're willing not to be arrogant on what you're releasing.
Yeah.
And you're learning from it, and you're knowing what to respond.
So big. And as we posted a quote from you on Instagram yesterday on that same, you had said, any topic that's been well analyzed can create magic on YouTube. And we've certainly seen that. Kathy Fit is saying, I'm not gifted like that. Kathy, it doesn't take anyone gifted to do an Air 5, or to zoom in or out, or to add a happy face emoji. Little tiny quick clicks, bangs, bells, and whistles added periodically through your video can really help to increase traffic. Now, if you are...
Could I talk to her real quick?
Yeah, please.
Talk to her, Kathy, we all have gifts that are very unique, and what you need to look at is what makes you unique and amplify that. It's the same message that I gave Owen. It's just authenticity sells. That's all it is. And if you think that you're boring, that's great. There's a lot of people that want to be surrounded by boring people, and they'll spend hours of time. And it's like, we all interact and connect with people in different ways. It's more of a human connection than anything else. And so being you is the key. And then it's like, okay, learning from that and seeing how your audience and your viewers respond to you is how you're analyzing. And you're starting to create rituals or ways in your edit that you can, improve. And I agree, you can amp it up with emojis, but maybe your audience isn't connected into emojis. You'll find it out very quickly by testing it and knowing how to analyze that in a way that says, oh no, they didn't respond. But for me, it's like, what would keep your interest in that conversation? Like, who is the avatar? So I want to, do we need another soapbox moment?
Yeah, soapbox moment. Let's make it happen.
Okay. Soapbox moment with Derral Eves. We might have to get a graphic with this.
It's happening. It's happening.
It's like, when I started Vid Summit, I didn't do this in any other way that I do with the video. It's like, who is the intended audience? Who's the intended person? Where do they fall into it? And I created what they call a customer avatar. I have my degree in marketing and advertising. This is kind of the things that you do when you're in marketing and advertising, right?
Yeah.
And I took a step back, and I wanted to see specifically on what would get them motivated to take time out of their life, buy a ticket, come to LA, and sit down and learn for 3 days. And I looked at every aspect, and I could tell you the avatar that I looked to, and I still to this day, you've been to every single Vid Summit.
Yes, 100%.
That we put on every single one of them. And I remember we talked about it from Vid Summit 1. Like I stood from the stage and told you where I wanted it to be. And it hasn't changed. It's just expanded with the people that we bring. And so the thing about it, it's like the vision was there, the avatar was there. And I want to tell you, Kathy, who that avatar is. It's me. What would keep my attention?
So good.
I can honestly say, if I don't want to learn from someone, they're not on the stage. You know, it's like there's so many different people out there that I want to learn from it. And it's like Owen's had to go through this before. It's just because we're buds doesn't mean that he's getting on stage.
Yeah.
It's like, what are you going to teach? Like, I think that you can bring me value, but tell me what you're going to teach. Don't expect it to happen.
Yeah.
And so once that happens and they're talking about what they're going to teach, it's like, yeah, I can learn from that. And if I can say those words, because I go through every single video at Vid Summit, not as the founder of Vid Summit, but as an attendee. That's why I record it. That's why I live stream it. It's not, I'm sorry, I don't do it to, make more money or all that. I do it for me.
Yeah.
That's my way of learning and growing. That's the whole reason why I started Vid Summit, was to learn from the best in the industry. And I want to get that little moment of that moment that I need is learning. And so, Kathy, please just be yourself, be authentic, be you. You can be interesting to the people that will gravitate to you. So don't feel like you need to become someone that you're not.
Yeah, that's big. That's really big. And I can tell you guys, from having sat with Derral in hotels all across the country and had these late night conversations. I remember when The Chosen came out and we were in like Jeremy's hotel room at like 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night, which when you have kids is pretty late. And we're talking about goals and dreams. And I've had like Derral put his arm around me and tell me like what's it gonna take to get to the next level. And I'm really blessed to have his mentorship in my life. And if you are looking for mentorship on your YouTube channel, if you're stuck between 1,000 and 20,000 subscribers, you can put the graphic up, then here's how you can start implementing what you're learning today. You can join my YouTube Authority Intensive. In the YouTube Authority Intensive, you'll work side by side with me and my team to grow your channel with content that triggers the algorithm. Our goal is to make you the #1 recognized authority in your field by developing systems for your programming, production, promotion, and your progress. Whether you're an expert in business, real estate, marketing, the trades, or any custom niche, visit thevideomarketingschool.com and apply today. That's thevideomarketingschool.com and check it out. Derral, you've got so much to share, and YouTube gives us so many different numbers to look at and to talk about. But where can we have the biggest impact in our channel right now?
So it comes back to the questions of the factors that I look at, and that was an earlier question. So we already talked about click-through rate, because if you don't get the click, you never get the average view duration. So like the average view duration starts with the click. That's where it starts. And so the next thing would be is it average view duration or average percent viewed? I like those two metrics more than anything else. And how you read it is completely different. And that's something that I like to deep dive into. A lot of people look at just average view duration because that accrues the watch time minutes, which is like the golden, gem of YouTube.
Right.
But the reality of everything, it's like, it's so intertwined. And I can tell you that just to focus in on one without the other, it's like really chopping off of one leg and trying to run it in a marathon.
Sure. It's like a one-legged table.
Exactly. And so, yeah, it's functional, you can do it, but you're not getting the fullness out of it. So those are the metrics I look at. And then I'm really sensitive to, and I've said this several times, to traffic sources, because once you understand the traffic, you understand the audience of that traffic, and then you can actually see patterns in that.
Yeah. Okay. So that's pretty big. I think you got to work on a lot of things at once. Do you recommend implementing one thing at a time? Like this video, I'm going to work on the hook, but we're not going to mess with watch time techniques. Or are you sort of doing a little bit of everything at the same time? And are you doing it systematically where like, hey, this video we're uploading today, we're really looking at the thumbnail click through and we're really looking at retention? You know, give us a little insight into how we can make that process manageable.
So right now, we are shooting a new video. It's a new video in a series that we've been planning for quite some time. And the way that I'm looking at it right now, it's like, how do you test out something that you haven't really done before?
Yeah.
That you don't have data on.
Yeah.
And so it's like seeing patterns of the type of content that you want to create. So for me, I like to change everything that I possibly can, because this is not a split test. This is just like, let's make the best video we possibly can make. Let's
Right.
make the best title that we can possibly make. Let's make the best thumbnail that we can possibly make. And then let's learn from that. And then the next time we do it, we have more data that can help us make better data-driven decisions to make better content.
Yeah.
So like, don't just focus in on one thing. It's just like, hey, that's great, but it's not going to give you the result, because the end result is we want people to come and see your video by seeing that title and thumbnail and clicking on it. When they come on it, we want so much value that's there that they'll want to watch another one.
Yeah.
And when that happens, YouTube can see who's doing that and find more people like it.
Yeah.
That's where YouTube will recommend your content.
Yeah. Yeah. So do we have to make content together? Let's talk about the binge worthiness of your content. Do you need to make content in a series so that they're watching different parts of a series?
That's best practices for anything. It's just like, is there a series of videos that would be relatable and that people would want to have some interest? And so, like I said, broadcast TV, I probably have more experience in broadcast to bring them online. And this is a conversation I've had with big clients like, ABC, ESPN.
Yeah.
I mean, the list literally goes on, in that regard. And it's like, how do you take a linear format, which a linear format is some producers deciding what you want to watch and then just pushing it down your throat.
Right.
And the difference would be is, how do you change that in a formula where it's more, about what the viewer want to watch? You got to get the viewer in control. And so part of it has to do with the essence of how you're creating the content and how they're going to engage with it. But one thing that television has done is they really have worked well intertwining storylines and have relatable content. And so the thing for me is, we need to take what's good and what will work on, from linear type of programming and figure out how to bring it into us. And so, having, these mini series type documentaries is great, and you can do so much with it. But at the end of the day, it's like, when someone watches this video, how's the likelihood and the probability of them to find something that's similar that they'll want to watch?
Right.
It's high. So wouldn't you want to do that? Absolutely. Shake your head. Yes.
Yes. Yeah. I'm in. I'm 100. And you know what else I'm in on, Derral? I'm in on this screen behind you. Can you show everybody? Can you show them what this screen can do? Look what's going on. Holy mackerel.
I'm at a YouTube studio. I mean, I just in one of the rooms that they have here, but
unbelievable.
When you get 30 million subscribers and hundreds of millions of video views a month, you get craziness like this.
The world opens up. It's sort of like Wonka Fest back there. It's just like, you never know.
You have no idea. You have no idea.
So let's wrap up with this question. Mr. Beast, who you're with right now in North Carolina, and you've really helped mentor and grow and create this huge channel, as you've done with 22 other channels. What's the big lesson that we can all learn from Mr. Beast? What's the big thing that he does really well that you think we could all learn?
He's a data-driven creator. I mean, I think the biggest thing is learning from what you do and become better. And what I love about it too is he's not arrogant in the sense of thinking that he knows everything.
Yeah.
You have to be humble. You have to be teachable. And I think that learning process, like, he is a student of YouTube. And I learn from him. He learns from me. There's some synergy from there. But he's by far the smartest creator I've ever worked with. And
that's incredible.
He's smart in a way to realize that he doesn't have all the answers, but he can surround himself with the people that do. And it's not that he's going to take it as face value. It's just going to give him a little bit more data that he can decide for himself what's the best thing to do. And I like, seriously, like I get shot down on ideas all the time from him. And that's great because he knows his audience, and it's his authenticity that is on the line. That the authenticity is his brand. And so I look at it for me, I can guarantee you, like this is a Vid Summit thing, but I can guarantee you one thing that you're never going to see at Vid Summit. I do 2 panels a year. Did you know that, Owen? Did I ever tell you that?
We talked about that.
Yeah. And the only reason why I do it is I hate panels. But there's a time to have that, and I'm willing to sacrifice what I want to fulfill what that need, which is I always do a live streaming panel, which you've been on quite a bit, and we have a TubeBuddy panel because TubeBuddy was the first sponsor of Vid Summit. So I want to take care of them in that regard, but I don't get a lot of value out of panels because I'm not going there to be entertained with information. I just want data.
Right.
Just give me the freaking data.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, and then 2, you know, you have to look at it at all the points of view. And so for me, you know, Mr. Beast and creators like that, you know, when they're willing to learn and willing to analyze and adjust, that's when they succeed.
Yeah, that's huge. You know, and such a big jump from the creator who says, I want to create what I want to create and I want you to like it. Instead, look at what they like and then make content that works for them. So if you're watching us live, Melissa, bring it back to me on a one shot. If you're watching us live, I want you to stick around because we're going to answer your questions with Derral Eves. If you're watching this on YouTube, then I want you to click on this video right here to go even deeper into this series where I interview Derral very intimately and very specifically on the YouTube algorithm. So click that, and we'll see you in the next video.